so CNN triggered Donald Trump, and Donald Trump's feelings got hurt. Trump calls for the firing of a CNN reporter over Iran nuclear damage report because there's a lot of things falling out, no pun intended, about what went down. So I think it's only fair that we pull up this video here from CNN. This is the video in question that has caused Trump to get upset. Let's play it.
This is CNN Breaking News.
We have major breaking news into CNN. 3 sources tell CNN that according to an early U.S. intelligence assessment, the U.S. military strikes on 3 of Iran's nuclear facilities last weekend did not destroy the core components of the country's nuclear program and likely only set it back a few months.
That's right. So this is an assessment that actually is out from the Defense Intelligence Agency. That is the Pentagon's intelligence arm. And it was based on a battle damage assessment conducted by U.S. CENTCOM after the strikes, according to one of the sources. Let's go to CNN national security correspondent Natasha Bertrand, who has this exclusive new reporting. This is to that question that has been asked about how much damage has been done. This is a real question. It's also a political question that has been to something that Donald Trump has been sort of dealing with here recently. What are you learning, Natasha?
Yeah, look, Brianna, this is the first assessment that we are getting that the U.S. intelligence community has found about the battle damage that resulted from those U.S. military strikes on these 3 Iranian nuclear facilities over the weekend. And as you said, it was produced by the Defense Intelligence Agency, which is the Pentagon's intelligence arm. And it is worth noting that it is a very early assessment. The strikes were only a matter of days ago, and the intelligence community is still gathering intelligence. They are still working to come up with a full, comprehensive picture of what exactly happened here, but based on about.
I'm going to pause here. I want to play this video in its full entirety, but I'm going to give my opinion that is probably wrong. It's just an opinion. Just an opinion. Yes, did the U.S. fly bombers in Iranian airspace? Yeah, that happened. Did U.S. bombs land near this facility? Yeah. Did they hit the target? I think you'll find more action and actual physical trauma and beating in a WWE, WCW, or ECW script line, except for anything involving New Jack. New Jack might be gone, but that man still scares me, okay? 6 feet under, New Jack still scares me. But this looked like a telegraph kind of fight, you know? So like, yeah, we got that facility. Did you? Just like how Iran said, hey, America, we're going to strike your base at this time with these many missiles. I don't know. Does this look like play fighting? I'm not going to say that it looks like it, but did people get hurt? Oh, absolutely. Maybe, yeah, you know. But I'm just throwing this out here that something don't add up. My mind racing with a million questions. That's all.
Battle damage assessment that was carried out by U.S. Central Command, essentially looking at the images and looking at what was actually damaged. The Defense Intelligence Agency has assessed that the core components of Iran's nuclear program are largely intact, and that Iran's nuclear program has essentially only been set back by months. Now, we presented this information to the White House for comment, and White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt, she did acknowledge the existence of this assessment, but she said in a statement that the administration disagrees with it. She said, quote, "This alleged assessment is flat out wrong and was classified as top secret, but was still leaked to CNN by an anonymous low-level loser in the intelligence community."
Oh, low-level loser. Oh, maybe we are an idiocracy. Drink Brando. It's what plants crave, you morons. No, I take that back. Don't be stupid. Drink the Brando, or the Brando will drink you.
The leaking of this alleged assessment is a clear attempt to demean President Trump and discredit the brave fighter pilots who conducted a perfectly executed mission to obliterate Iran's nuclear program. Everyone knows what happens when you drop 14 30,000-pound bombs perfectly on their targets, total obliteration. Now, it is worth noting here that there has been dissent, I should say, within the intelligence community, within the defense community about just how much of an impact these massive bunker buster bombs would actually have on Iran's nuclear facilities. It was far from certain, given that these bombs had never been tested in an actual combat scenario, whether they would actually penetrate those very, very deep underground tunnels that lie underneath these nuclear facilities. And what we are told is that as of now, this Defense Intelligence Agency assessment, it does conclude at this point, again, it is still very early, that those underground facilities, including the centrifuges, including the highly enriched uranium that everyone has been talking so much about, those are largely intact. Now, of course, this does stand at odds with what President Donald Trump and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth have been saying in recent days about the impact of these U.S. military strikes. Of course, President Trump said it was totally obliterated. And Secretary Hegseth did as well. And he actually also provided CNN with a statement. And he said that, quote, based on everything we have seen, and I've seen it all, our bombing campaign obliterated Iran's ability to create nuclear weapons. Our massive bombs hit exactly the right spot at each target and worked perfectly. The impact of those bombs is buried under a mountain of rubble in Iran. So anyone who says the bombs were not devastating is just trying to undermine the president and the successful mission. Now,
of course, Trump got very triggered by that. Trump calls for the firing of a CNN reporter over the Iran nuclear damage. Again, President Trump on Wednesday called for the firing of CNN correspondent Natasha Bertrand, who reported on air that an internal U.S. intelligence assessment found Saturday strikes on the Iranian nuclear sites, which I don't want to see happen, set back Tehran's nuclear program by only a few months. And Natasha Bertrand should be fired from CNN! Exclamation point by Trump. I watched her for 3 days doing fake news, and she should be immediately reprimanded and then thrown out like a dog, Trump wrote on Truth Social. Bertrand, the president, argued, was attempting to destroy our Patriot pilots by making them look bad. Making them look bad. Trump said earlier Wednesday that the preliminary classified U.S. report wasn't complete, while members of his administration vowed to investigate the leak assessment. Who did it? A bird goes tweet and an owl goes who? They're probably right now having an Among Us kind of moment. Hey, I referenced an old video game. I forgot about Among Us. But the president took particular issue with Bertrand's writing in his social media post that she should not be allowed to work at fake news CNN. And of course, he even wrote about it too. He actually even talked about it, calling CNN is scum and MSDNC is scum. To which I have to say, either Trump is watching Hardlands Media, which if you are Trump, how you doing, Mr. President? Or Barron Trump is watching, because MSDNC sounds very similar to my BSDNC. Is Donald Trump copying Kit Cabello? I'm going to make a controversial statement here and say yes, he is. No, he's not. But it does. I don't know. I'll have you decide. He's calling MSNBC MSDNC, and then there's my BSDNC. Do you think that Trump is, or somebody's watching Hardlands Media? Type 1 for, hey Kit, get your ego in check, buddy. You're way off here. All right, just calm the hell down. I love you, but you're out of pocket for this one. Or type 2, oh, you better damn well believe you're being watched, baby boy. They're trying to copy you. They're trying to take your mojo. The correct answer is 2.
This was an unbelievable hit by genius pilots and genius people in the military, and they're not being given credit for it because we have scum that's in this group, and not all of you are. You have some great reporters, but you have scum. CNN is scum. MSDNC is scum. The New York
BSDNC
is scum. MSDNC is scum. The New York Times is scum. They're bad people. They're sick. And what they've done is they're trying to make this unbelievable victory into something less. Now, even they admit that it was hit very hard, okay? But it wasn't hit hard. It was hit brutally, and it knocked it out. The original word that I use, I guess it got us in trouble because it's a strong word. It was obliteration. It was obliteration.
But the thing is, how are we able to really secure some concessions with Iran? I want to pull up this here.
The president lifted and the administration lifted some of the sanctions on Iran to be able to ship crude oil to China yesterday as well. Why was that necessary? And how does that perhaps create the beginning of a pathway towards this more prosperous Iran that you speak of?
Well, I think it was a signal from the president. You know, he's got this uncanny ability to take the temperature of how people are feeling about certain things. I think, you know, this was a signal to the Chinese that we want to work with you, that we're not interested in hurting your economy. We're interested in working together with you in unison. And hopefully that becomes a signal to the Iranians. So I think it was a great decision. And I'm not sure if it was unexpected or not, but I have come to expect President Trump doing these sorts of things that people look at and say, wow, that's a pretty smart, prudent economic move.
Or maybe it's because right now, peace is so unattainable in the Middle East. And the only way to really stop everything right now is to try and reverse maybe some policies. And that Trump is realizing that ending the wars in the Middle East is definitely a no bueno. Now, I'm putting in my idealistic perspective here, but let's take a step back. One, our fighter planes should not have flown over Iranian airspace. Two, U.S. pilots should not have been flying in Iranian airspace. Three, those U.S. pilots flying in Iranian airspace should not have dropped those U.S. bombs on those Iranian nuclear facilities. But the fact that some of these punches, these missiles and bombs are being hinted or talked about, I mean, dare I say it, it almost looks like a telegraph kind of fight. It looks like just, you know, what you would see in a wrestling ring, where you see the two wrestlers, they're going over the moves, which, by the way, again, folks, if you know the history of wrestling, it's got its origin in the carnival environment, right? But the thing is, this has severe long-term geopolitical consequences. You know, if you're talking about bombing one location at this time and then launching missiles at this time, why are we doing this in the first place unless there's a bigger picture being done here? Trump lifting sanctions over Iran, okay. Maybe ending some of the economic hardship. This could potentially lead to calling for a ceasefire in the Middle East? That's a big question to ask. But the answer is right now, until there is a fully functioning ceasefire, let's hope that the Iranian and Israeli ceasefire does last, because this is a risk that's too high. And we should not have been involved. And of course, you had Donald Trump dropping the F-bomb yesterday or the day before yesterday, saying that they don't know what they're doing, Israel and Iran. We got to remember, we don't know what we're doing here either, because this has been going on for decades. There are centuries. With the fall of the Ottoman Empire after World War I, and of course, the political lineup of how the Middle East was carved up, and in turn, the aftermath of World War II, and since then, we have seen nothing but deaths and destruction in the Middle East. We have to remember, too, that the Iranian people know firsthand about U.S. involvement and coups. I mean, it was our CIA, British intelligence, American oil, British oil, and General Dwight D. Eisenhower's administration, as well as Churchill's administration too, all working together to overthrow the national government in Iran in the 1950s, and thus replacing it with the Shah. I question everything that is being played before us. And already you have the Iranian leader saying, oh, no, we have victory. Yeah, you only set our program back just a few months. So what happens then? Just a few months. So let's just say, I don't know, sometime in July or August or September or October, or maybe during the holidays, during Thanksgiving or Christmas, we're going to get the same message from Netanyahu saying, oh, no, they're going to have a bomb again. And we're right back to being scared. But this time you'll be home for the holidays with your loved ones. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy New Year. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing swimmingly well. But that's what lies in store for us, huh? And Trump wants these reporters from CNN to be fired. Well, okay, who is the person who leaked this information? And how true is it? Because, again, let's say there's no more military action between Israel and Iran. Are we going to wait a couple of months, according to my invisible watch? And once again, hear the same story again? Because don't be surprised if you hear the same story that Iran is this close, people, this close. So close you wouldn't believe it. So how can I end a segment like this? How can I end a segment like this? And otherwise, we're going to have another interview like this coming. And, you know, if the world's going to end, let's end it with laughter.
How many people live in Iran, by the way? I don't know the population. At all? No, I don't know the population. You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple? How many people live in Iran? 92 million. Okay. Yeah. How could you not know that? I don't sit around memorizing population tables. Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government. Why is it relevant whether it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant? Because if you don't know anything about the country... I didn't say I don't know anything about the country. What's the ethnic mix of Iran? They are Persians and predominantly Shia. Okay, it's not even... You don't know anything about Iran. So okay, I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran. You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government. You're the one who claims... You don't know anything about the country. No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump. You're the one who can't figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad. They're trying to murder Trump. Yes, I do. Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe that... We're carrying out military strikes today. You said Israel was. Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them. Well, you're breaking news here because...
Yes, hey, and Ted, you broke away that secret sauce. This was said, by the way, I know this is a comedy video, but this was said like a few days before on that Saturday when our U.S. bombers flew into Iranian airspace to drop the payloads. Ted, I'm pretty sure one of your handlers slapped you upside the head and made you cry. Because after all, everybody has an APAC, a babysitter.
Military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe that... We're carrying out military strikes today. You said Israel was. Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them. Well, you're breaking news here because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity. No, we're not bombing them. Israel's bombing them. You just said we were. We are supporting Israel. High stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening. Okay.
Yeah, you tell him, baby Tucker. You tell him, because after all, we all know this.
All lies will be exposed.
And until then, let's see more of this damage assessment. But I'm willing to bet in 6 months, maybe, we're going to hear the same story. Iran is this close to building a nuclear bomb, which is why we got to strike their facilities again. I thought we struck them the first time. I thought that was the final gut check. That's the thing about telling lies. They all come crashing down.